The city pulsed like a living thing that night. Headlights smeared through rain-soaked glass. Horns echoed off tall buildings, and puddles rippled beneath passing cars. Somewhere between the noise and the neon, a man sat in the back of a black sedan, silent, thoughtful, alone. His name was Marcus Hale, and to most of the world, he was the definition of success. A self-made CEO. The kind of man people envied but never truly knew. His face was on magazine covers, his name floated through business headlines, and his signature built empires. But none of that filled the emptiness in his chest. Marcus had built walls, not just around his company, but around himself. He had learned early that trust was expensive, and betrayal cost more than any business deal ever could, especially when that betrayal came from family. His late brother, Nathan, had been his mirror once. The same blood, the same ambition, until greed tore them apart. Nathan's death 3 years ago should have been closure. Instead, it left Marcus haunted by anger, by guilt, by questions that never found answers. Tonight, he wasn't thinking about any of that. He was just trying to get home. "Should I take the Riverside route, sir?" his driver asked as the car slowed at a red light. Marcus didn't answer at first. His gaze was fixed on something outside. A small figure crouched under a flickering street lamp, a boy, soaked to the skin. No coat, no shoes, just sitting there, hugging his knees. "Stop the car," Marcus said quietly. The driver hesitated. "Sir, this isn't a safe." "Stop, please." The car eased to the curb. Marcus opened the door before the driver could even react. The rain hit him instantly. Cold, hard, unrelenting. The boy looked up, startled by the sudden movement. His eyes, wide, frightened, and tired, met Marcus's for a moment. Marcus froze. Something about those eyes. They carried a strange familiarity. He couldn't place it, but it tugged at something deep inside him. Marcus knelt slightly, lowering his voice. "Hey, you shouldn't be out here. Where's your family?" The boy shook his head, raindrops clinging to his hair. "Don't have one." Marcus frowned. "What's your name?" "Liam," he said softly. His voice cracked a little, whether from cold or fear, Marcus couldn't tell. "How old are you, Liam?" 10. "Where do you live?" The boy's eyes darted away. "Nowhere, just around." Marcus took a slow breath. There was something about his small frame, the way he sat stiff, like someone used to defending himself from the world. That broke something in Marcus. He glanced at his driver. "Get a blanket from the trunk, sir. Now." The driver hurried off. Marcus shrugged out of his own coat and draped it over the boy's shoulders. Liam flinched at first, then slowly relaxed into the warmth. "You don't have to do that," he mumbled. "I know," Marcus said quietly. "But I want to." The driver returned with a thick blanket. Marcus helped wrap it around the boy, then gestured to the car. "Come on. You'll get sick out here." Liam hesitated, his eyes wary. "Why are you helping me?" Marcus gave a tired smile. "Because once, someone helped me when they didn't have to." The boy studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Inside the car, warmth and silence filled the space. The city lights flashed across Liam's face as he stared out the window. Holding the blanket tight, Marcus glanced at him, then spoke gently. "When's the last time you ate?" Liam shrugged. "Yesterday, I think." "Let's fix that." Minutes later, they stopped at a small roadside cafe, the kind that stayed open for taxi drivers and late-night workers. The smell of fresh bread and soup hit them as they stepped inside. People stared. A man in a tailored suit and a street boy walking in together wasn't something you saw every day. Marcus didn't care. He led Liam to a booth near the window and ordered 2 bowls of soup, sandwiches and tea. When the food came, Liam hesitated for just a second before diving in. Marcus said nothing. He just watched quietly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. After a while, Liam looked up between bites. "You don't eat much, huh?" Marcus chuckled. "Not when I'm thinking." "What are you thinking about?" "Whether I'm doing the right thing." Liam tilted his head. "You mean helping me?" "Yeah." The boy smiled, small, shy, but genuine. "You are." That simple answer caught Marcus off guard. He nodded slowly, unable to respond. When they finished eating, he paid the bill and led Liam back outside. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening like glass. As they drove away, Marcus asked softly, "If I offered you a place to stay, somewhere warm, clean, safe, would you take it?" Liam turned to him, his face half lit by passing lights. "Just for tonight? For as long as you need." The boy hesitated, eyes narrowing slightly, like he didn't trust it could be real. Then he nodded. "Okay." When they arrived at Marcus's home, a large, modern villa tucked behind tall gates, Liam's eyes widened. "You live here?" "Yeah," Marcus said, almost sheepishly. "Too much space for one person, I know." The housekeeper opened the door, startled to see her boss with a child. "Good evening, sir." "Who?" "This is Liam," Marcus interrupted gently. "He's staying with us for a while. Set up a guest room near mine." The woman nodded quickly, trying to hide her surprise. Liam stood frozen at the doorway, staring up at the tall ceilings, the polished floors, the soft glow of the chandelier. "This place looks like a movie," he whispered. Marcus smiled faintly. "You'll get used to it." He led him upstairs and into a guest room. Warm lighting, clean sheets, a big bed that probably looked like heaven to a boy who'd been sleeping on pavement. Liam sat on the edge, still unsure. "You sure it's okay for me to stay here?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah, you're safe now." The boy's shoulders relaxed. He lay down, pulling the blanket up to his chin. Within minutes, he was asleep. Marcus stood by the door, watching him. The rise and fall of his small chest, the peace on his face. Something about it hit him deeper than he expected. It had been years since he'd felt this kind of quiet. The kind that wasn't lonely, but human. He turned off the light, whispered, "Good night, kid," and closed the door. But as he walked down the hall, his mind replayed the boy's face, those eyes, that expression. Something about them felt familiar, and though he didn't know it yet, the boy he'd just saved carried the one name Marcus had sworn never to forgive. If you were Marcus, would you have trusted a stranger enough to bring them home? Or left him with a shelter instead? Comment what your heart would have done below. The morning light spilled through the tall glass windows of Marcus Hale's home, painting golden streaks across the marble floor. The air smelled faintly of coffee and toast. When Marcus walked into the kitchen, he was surprised to find Liam already awake, sitting on a stool, awkwardly holding a spoon. The housekeeper was trying not to smile as she watched a boy stare at the variety of food in front of him like it was a museum exhibit. "Good morning," Marcus said, his voice softer than usual. Liam turned quickly, nearly dropping the spoon. "Good morning, sir. You can just call me Marcus," he said with a smile. Liam hesitated. "Okay, Marcus," he said it carefully, like testing a word he wasn't sure he had permission to use. Marcus sat down opposite him. "Sleep well?" Liam nodded. "The bed's really soft. I thought I'd fall through it." Marcus chuckled. "That's a good problem to have." Liam grinned faintly, then went back to eating, or rather, overthinking every bite. "You don't have to be shy," Marcus said. "Eat as much as you like. You've got time to get used to this." Liam's eyes flickered toward him. "You mean I can stay?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, thinking for a moment. "As long as you want." "Yeah." The boy's face softened, the first real sign of relief Marcus had seen. He looked down quickly, as if trying to hide it. Over the next few days, a quiet rhythm settled into the mansion. Liam explored the garden, helped the housekeeper carry small trays, and spent evenings sitting by the living room window, staring at the city lights. Marcus would watch from a distance sometimes, trying to understand why he cared so much about this child he barely knew. He told himself it was simple empathy, but in truth, Liam reminded him of something, or someone, that stirred a long buried ache in his chest. One evening, Marcus found Liam in the library, a vast, warm room lined with books and old photographs. Liam was standing by the fireplace, holding a framed picture. Marcus recognized it instantly. Two young men in their 20s, standing shoulder to shoulder, smiling in the sunlight. One of them was him, the other Nathan. "That was a long time ago," Marcus said quietly. Walking closer, Liam turned. "Is that your brother?" Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, Nathan, you looked happy, Liam said innocently. Marcus's throat tightened. We were, for a while. What happened? He hesitated. Let's just say, sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. Liam looked at the photo again. Was he a bad person? Marcus paused, his jaw tightening. He made bad choices. He didn't want to say more. The memories were sharp. Late-night arguments. Lies disguised as business deals. The betrayal that shattered both their lives. Nathan had stolen from him, torn apart the company they built together, and left Marcus to pick up the pieces, and then, before either could make amends, Nathan died in a car crash. No closure, no forgiveness, just silence. Marcus turned away, the weight of old wounds pressing down again. Put the picture back, Liam. Some memories belong to the past. Liam nodded silently and set the frame down. But as Marcus left the room, Liam's gaze lingered on the photo, his eyes tracing Nathan's face with quiet confusion, almost recognition. The next day, Marcus came home early from work. He found Liam sitting on the steps outside the house, his knees pulled to his chest, staring into space. You okay? Marcus asked. Liam looked up, startled, then nodded. Yeah. I was thinking. About what? My mom, he said softly. She used to tell me about my dad sometimes. Not much. Just bits and pieces. Marcus leaned against the railing. What kind of man was he? She said he wanted to be better, Liam said, picking at the edge of his sleeve. But he made a lot of mistakes. She said he loved me though. Even if he couldn't stay. Marcus nodded, his voice gentle. Parents aren't perfect. Some try their best and still fail. Liam's eyes met his. Did your brother ever have kids? The question caught Marcus off guard. He frowned slightly. Not that I know of. Why do you ask? Liam shrugged, but his voice was careful. Just wondering. Marcus smiled faintly. He never mentioned any. Liam looked down again. Yeah. Maybe she got it wrong. Marcus tilted his head. Who? My mom. She said my dad's name was Nate. Marcus froze. The rain had started again. Faint drops tapping against the patio glass. Nate. He repeated slowly. Liam nodded. Yeah, Nathan. I think. Nathan something. The world seemed to tilt slightly around Marcus. He felt the blood drain from his face. You said your mother's name was? Grace. Liam said quietly. Grace Morgan. Marcus took a step back, his breath catching. The name hit him like a lightning strike. Grace Morgan. Nathan's girlfriend from years ago. The one who vanished after the scandal. Marcus hadn't seen her since his brother's funeral. He turned away quickly, trying to steady his voice. That's a common name. Liam didn't notice the tremor in his tone. Yeah, maybe. Marcus forced a smile. Come on. Let's get inside. You'll catch a cold. As they walked back toward the house, Marcus's mind raced. Could it be possible? Could this boy, the one he found in the rain, really be Nathan's son? He replayed everything in his head. The boy's age, his eyes, the familiar way he tilted his head when thinking, the same as Nathan. It fit, too perfectly. But why hadn't Grace ever said anything? Why had she let her child end up on the streets? Marcus closed the door behind them and stood still for a long moment, staring at the boy who now sat by the fireplace, rubbing his hands for warmth. He had spent years trying to erase his brother's memory. Now it was sitting right there in his living room, breathing, smiling, alive. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, scrolling through old records, trying to find any trace of Grace Morgan. An obituary, an address, anything. But the deeper he searched, the more one truth began to take shape. Grace had died quietly, forgotten, and Liam had been left with no one. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his heart heavy. He should have been angry, but instead, he felt something else, a strange mix of sorrow and responsibility. He whispered into the stillness, Nathan, you ruined everything while you lived, but maybe your son deserves a chance to fix what you broke. If you discovered a child you rescued might be part of a painful chapter from your past. Would you tell them the truth or protect them from it? Comment your honest answer below. The next morning arrived gray and quiet, the kind of morning where the air itself feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. Marcus Hale hadn't slept. He sat by the window of his study, eyes red, a half-empty glass of whiskey on the table beside him. Outside, the city moved on as if nothing had changed. But for Marcus, everything had. The boy he'd rescued, Liam, was no stranger's child. He was Nathan's son, the son of the man who had betrayed him, destroyed their company, and died without an apology. And now, fate had placed that child under his roof. Marcus didn't believe in irony, but this felt like punishment. Downstairs, laughter echoed faintly. Liam was helping the housekeeper water the plants. His voice was light, innocent, completely unaware of the storm he'd woken in Marcus's heart. The sight of him brought both warmth and pain. Marcus could see Nathan in every small gesture. The way Liam smiled with one side of his mouth, the curious tilt of his head, even the same restless energy in his hands. But there was something different too, where Nathan's eyes had been full of charm and mischief. Liam's carried sincerity, the kind that didn't know how to hide behind lies. And maybe that was what made this harder. That evening, Marcus called someone he hadn't spoken to in years, Dr. Elias Moran, his old family friend and the executor of Nathan's estate. Marcus, the man's voice came over the line, surprised. It's been a long time. I need a favor, Marcus said quietly. Anything. I need to confirm a blood relation. Privately, there was a pause. You think he's Nathan's? I don't think. I know. But I need proof. Dr. Moran sighed. Bring him in tomorrow. We'll keep it discreet. Marcus hung up, staring at his reflection in the window. The city lights shimmered across his face, fractured by the rain. He whispered to himself, if this is true, then I owe him more than pity. The next day, Marcus took Liam to Dr. Moran's clinic. Liam was nervous. He'd never been in a place that smelled like antiseptic and professionalism before. Are you sick? Liam asked as they sat in the waiting room. No, Marcus said gently. Just routine checkups. For both of us. Liam frowned. But I'm fine. Marcus smiled faintly. I know. The test was simple. A cheek swab, a few quick questions. Dr. Moran kept the interaction light, his tone warm. Liam had no idea what was really happening. When it was over, Marcus drove him home and told him to rest. He didn't rest. For 2 days. He walked through the house like a ghost. Working, eating, pretending. Until his phone finally rang. Dr. Moran's voice was calm but heavy. Marcus, I've run the results twice. There's no mistake. Say it, Marcus said. Voice flat. He's your brother's son. 99.9% probability. Marcus closed his eyes. For a long time, he said nothing, then, quietly, thank you, Elias. He ended the call and sat still, the world narrowing to silence. Nathan's son under his care, under his roof, and he had no idea. That night, Marcus sat alone in the living room, the fire crackling faintly. Liam walked in quietly, holding a book. Can I sit here? He asked. Marcus nodded. Of course. Liam sat on the couch beside him, flipping through pages. The light from the fireplace painted their faces in gold and shadow. After a while, Liam looked up. Marcus? Yeah? Do you think people can be forgiven, even if they did something really bad? Marcus blinked. Why do you ask? Liam's voice was small. Sometimes I think about my dad. Mom said he made mistakes, but I don't know. I wish I could have known him. Marcus's chest tightened. What would you have said to him? I'd ask him why. Liam said softly. Why he left us, and if he ever thought about me. Marcus swallowed hard. And if he said yes? Liam smiled sadly. Then maybe I'd stop being mad. The room fell quiet again. Except for the sound of the fire, Marcus wanted to tell him everything. That his father wasn't a stranger, that he'd betrayed more than one family, that his choices had left scars Marcus still carried. But how could he? How could he look into those innocent eyes and say, the man who broke my life was your father? Instead, he said softly, I think your dad would have been proud of you. Liam's eyes brightened. You really think so? Marcus nodded, forcing a smile. I do. The boy leaned his head on the armrest. Eyes heavy with sleep. Within minutes, he was out. Marcus sat there, watching him, his heart aching in quiet confusion. He whispered to himself, You're nothing like him. Maybe that's why you're here, to give me a chance to forgive what he took away. Later that night, Marcus went to his study and opened an old safe. Inside were remnants of his past, papers, contracts, and a single sealed envelope addressed in Nathan's handwriting. He never opened it. Not after all the lies, but tonight, something inside him said he should. His hands trembled as he tore it open. Inside, a letter. Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I know I can't fix what I broke, but I need you to know, Grace was pregnant when I left. I wanted to come clean, but I ran out of time. If anything happens to me, please don't blame the boy for my sins. Take care of him if he ever finds you. He's innocent. His name will be Liam. Marcus froze. The ink was smudged in places, as if written in a hurry, or through tears. He sank back in his chair, the letter trembling in his hand. The words blurred as his eyes filled. All the anger, all the hate, all the years of bitterness, suddenly, they didn't feel like weapons anymore. They felt like chains. Nathan had betrayed him. Yes, but even in death, he'd left behind one final plea. Not for forgiveness, but for mercy, and now, that mercy was sleeping down the hall. Marcus whispered, barely audible, You left me a son, brother, and I'll make sure he never carries your curse. If you discovered that the child of someone who deeply betrayed you was now under your care, would you love them as your own, or keep your distance? Tell me honestly. What would your heart do? The days that followed were the quiet kind. The kind that make you believe peace might actually last. Liam had started school. Marcus had enrolled him in a nearby academy under a private sponsorship, keeping his connection discreet. Every morning, the boy would bounce down the stairs, backpack too big for his small frame, a grin on his face that reminded Marcus what hope looked like. For the first time in years, Marcus felt purpose, not as a CEO, not as a man haunted by mistakes, but as something simpler, something rarer, a guardian. But peace never lasts when it's built on silence. It began one evening at the office. Marcus was reviewing reports when his assistant knocked softly and stepped in. Sir, there's someone asking to see you, she said hesitantly. She said it's personal. Marcus barely looked up. Tell her to book an appointment. She insisted it's about your brother. That name hit him like a blow to the chest. He set the papers down slowly. What's her name? She wouldn't give one. Just said you'd recognize her. Marcus hesitated, then sighed. Send her in. The door opened, and a woman stepped inside, mid-30s, worn but composed, carrying years of exhaustion behind her eyes. Marcus's breath caught. Grace. She gave a faint smile. It's been a long time, Marcus. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was thick with old ghosts. Marcus finally found his voice. You're supposed to be dead. Grace nodded softly. That's what I wanted everyone to think. After Nathan died, I didn't want his enemies, or yours, finding me. I needed to protect my son. Marcus's pulse quickened. Your son, Liam, she said quietly. His jaw tightened. He's here, in my home. Grace's eyes widened, not with shock, but relief. You found him. I did, Marcus said slowly. By accident. He didn't tell me who he was. I had to find out myself. She looked down, guilt flickering across her face. He doesn't know. I never told him about your Nathan. I just wanted him to grow up without the shadow of that betrayal. Marcus's voice hardened, and yet he ended up on the streets. Grace flinched. You think I wanted that? I got sick, Marcus. I tried to leave him with friends, but when I came back, they were gone. They'd left him behind. I searched for weeks before I collapsed. Her eyes glistened. When I recovered, it was too late. He was gone. I thought I'd lost him forever. Marcus's anger melted into something heavier. empathy mixed with sorrow. "He's safe now," he said softly. "He's doing well." Grace nodded, tears sliding silently down her face. "Thank you for keeping him alive. I couldn't have asked for better hands." Marcus hesitated, then said quietly, "He deserves the truth." She met his eyes. "No, he doesn't deserve that burden. He's just a child." The conversation was interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. Marcus's assistant poked her head in. "Sir, someone else is here. He says it's urgent." "He's from the old Colton group." Marcus frowned. "I don't." Before he could finish, a tall man in a tailored suit strode in uninvited. His expression was smug, confident, the kind of man who never asked for permission because he thought he owned every room he entered. "Marcus Hale," he said coolly, "still burying skeletons under shiny floors, I see." Marcus's face darkened. "Adrian Cole, what are you doing here?" Adrian smirked. "Cleaning up my late partner's mess. Your brother owed me more than just money. And now I hear his little legacy has reappeared. A boy, isn't it? About 10 years old?" Grace's face went pale. "How do you know about him?" Adrian chuckled. "Word travels fast when there's inheritance involved." Marcus stepped forward, his tone icy. "You stay away from him." Adrian leaned closer. "You don't get it, Marcus. Nathan signed a deal before he died, and that child is the legal heir to the assets he stole, which means that whatever you've been hiding now belongs to him, and I intend to collect." Grace gripped the edge of Marcus's desk. "You can't involve Liam in this." "Oh, I won't have to," Adrian said with a sneer. "I'll just make sure the world knows who he is, the son of a thief and a liar. Let's see how long your spotless image survives that." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Get out," Adrian smirked. "You've got 3 days. Marcus, hand over the assets, or I expose the boy." He turned and walked out, leaving the air thick with dread. Grace sank into a chair, trembling. "He'll ruin Liam's life." Marcus stared out the window, his fists clenched. "Not if I ruin his first." That night, Marcus couldn't hide the truth anymore. He found Liam sitting in the living room, building a puzzle by the fire. "Hey," Liam said brightly. "Look, I finished it." Marcus knelt beside him. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you." The boy's smile faded at his tone. "What's wrong?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Your father's name was Nathan Hale. He was my brother." Liam blinked, confused. "You mean we're family?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes, but there's more. He made mistakes, big ones, and there are people who might use those mistakes against you." The boy frowned. "But I didn't do anything." "I know," Marcus said gently. "That's why I won't let anyone hurt you, no matter what." Liam looked down, processing it all. Then he whispered, "You're not mad that I'm his son?" Marcus hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I was mad at him, but not at you. You're not responsible for his sins." Liam's eyes filled with tears. "You mean that?" Marcus nodded firmly. "I do." The boy threw his arms around him. "Thank you." Marcus froze for a second, then slowly wrapped his arms around him too, an embrace that felt like forgiveness itself. The next morning, Marcus called his legal team. They worked quietly, methodically, freezing accounts, tracing contracts, preparing to confront Adrian before he could strike. But Marcus knew this wasn't just a legal fight. It was redemption. One final chance to protect what mattered most. He stood by the window, watching Liam play in the garden, and whispered, "You wanted to destroy my family, Nathan, but your son just saved what was left of it. If someone from your past tried to use your loved one's history to destroy your peace, would you fight back publicly or protect them quietly behind the scenes?" Share how you would handle it in the comments below. The storm hit at dawn. Rain lashed against the tall glass windows of Hale Tower, lightning flashing behind the skyline like a warning. Inside, Marcus Hale stood at the center of his office, calm, steady, and ready. He had spent all night preparing. Every document, every contract, every trace of his late brother's dealings, now collected, corrected, and sealed. This wasn't just about defending himself anymore. It was about protecting Liam. At exactly 9 o'clock, the door opened. Adrian Cole walked in with that same smug confidence, water dripping from his coat. His smile sharp as a blade. "Well," Adrian drawled, "I was beginning to think you'd run." Marcus's voice was quiet but firm. "You talk too much for a man who's already lost." Adrian chuckled. "Bold words. Let's see if you still sound that confident when the press finds out you've been harboring the son of a criminal." Marcus stepped closer. "You mean the son of my brother, the boy your lies almost destroyed?" Adrian's smirk faltered for a split second. "You have no proof." Marcus tapped a folder on his desk. "Actually, I do. Copies of every contract you and Nathan forged. Every illegal transfer you made behind my back. And guess what? You signed most of them yourself." Adrian's smile faded completely. "I've spent weeks cleaning up my brother's mistakes," Marcus continued, his tone cold and deliberate. "And I found something interesting. Nathan didn't steal for himself. He was blackmailed. By you." Adrian's jaw tightened. "That's a lie." Marcus slid a document across the desk. "Then you should have shredded your emails." Adrian froze. His eyes darted across the page. His own words staring back at him. "Make the transfer, or I'll make sure Marcus takes the fall. You buried Nathan to save yourself," Marcus said, his voice low. "But you forgot something. The truth always digs itself back up." Adrian clenched his fists. "You can't prove any of this in court." "Oh, I don't have to," Marcus said, "because I already sent copies to the authorities, and to every partner you've ever worked with." Adrian's face drained of color. "And as for the press," Marcus added with quiet fury, "they'll hear a story about a man who tried to destroy a child's future. Not about a criminal's son, but about a boy who survived the streets and never stopped believing in people." Lightning flashed outside, followed by thunder that shook the windows. Adrian turned toward the door, but the building's security team was already waiting. Marcus's voice followed him as they led him away. "You took everything from my brother. I won't let you take what's left of him." That evening, the rain had stopped. The city smelled of renewal, wet earth and clean air. Marcus drove home slowly, exhaustion weighing on him like armor finally set down. When he walked through the door, Liam was waiting in the living room, still in his school uniform, clutching a small photo in his hands. Grace came by, the housekeeper said quietly before slipping away. Marcus froze. "She was here." Liam nodded. "She said she had to go away again. For good this time. But she left this." He held out the photo. A worn picture of Nathan, Grace, and baby Liam. Marcus took it gently, staring at the familiar face of his brother for the first time. The anger didn't come, just a quiet ache. "What did she tell you?" he asked softly. Liam shrugged. "She said you were the best thing that ever happened to me." Marcus's throat tightened. He knelt beside him. "She's right." Liam looked up at him, unsure. "So, now that I know who my dad was, what happens next? Do I still get to stay?" Marcus smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carries both pain and peace. "Liam, you're not here because of who your father was. You're here because of who you are, and as long as I'm alive, you'll always have a home." The boy's eyes filled with tears. "You mean that?" Marcus nodded. "I do. And one day, when you're ready, you'll learn everything. Not just the mistakes, but the lessons that came from them. You'll know that your father's choices don't define you." Liam threw his arms around him, and Marcus hugged him tightly, this time with no hesitation, no fear. In that moment, something shifted inside him. The kind of healing that doesn't erase pain but transforms it into strength. Weeks passed. The newspapers printed stories of Adrian Cole's downfall, of corruption uncovered and justice served. Marcus's company emerged stronger than ever, but he barely noticed. His life had changed in quieter ways. Every morning, he walked Liam to school. Every night, they read together before bed, and sometimes, when he passed his brother's old photograph, Marcus would whisper, "I kept my promise, Nathan. He's safe." One weekend afternoon, Marcus took Liam to the park, a wide green space under a cloudless sky. The air smelled of sunlight and new beginnings. They sat on a bench, eating ice cream. Liam looked up suddenly. Do you think Dad can see us? Marcus smiled gently. If he can, I think he's proud of you, even after everything. Yes, Marcus said. Because forgiveness doesn't change the past. It frees the future. Liam nodded, thoughtful. Then he looked up again. His voice small. Do you think I'll be like him? Marcus turned to him, his expression firm but kind. You'll be better. You already are. The boy smiled. A pure, genuine smile that felt like sunrise after a long night. As they walked back toward the car, Marcus glanced up at the sky. For the first time in years, he felt light. Not because his pain was gone, but because it finally had meaning. He whispered under his breath. The past doesn't die when we face it. It forgives us when we finally stop running. Sometimes life doesn't give us second chances. Sometimes it gives us someone who reminds us why we needed one. If this story moved you, don't leave without subscribing. Because the next story might be the one that reminds you what love, forgiveness, and family truly mean. If you were Marcus, would you tell Liam everything about his father's betrayal? Or let him grow up with only the good memories? Comment your answer below. I'm curious what your heart would choose.
Thank you for watching all the way through. If this story moved you, the next one will surprise you in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and click the video on your screen. Your next story awaits.